Great. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our rag wreath making workshop. Hopefully you have something to drink, either non-alcoholic or alcoholic, whatever your pleasure is. So my name is Linda. I'm president of DBFL, which is a nonprofit thrift store in Oakland, California. And Jules and I used to work together a long time ago, many moons ago. And we reconnected over social media. I saw that she was making these amazing upcycled rag wreaths, and I thought, what a great opportunity for us to sort of join forces again. So I will turn it over to Jules. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Linda. Hi, everybody. I'm Jules, and I run the Instagram account, The Girl is Crafty. And for those of you that don't know, that is a nod to the popular Beastie Boys song with that lyric. And I'm so excited for being here this afternoon. And thanks, Linda, for bringing me into this wonderful community that you're running up in Oakland. And I'm so excited to be able to teach everyone how to make a mini rag wreath for spring. I started making these during COVID, and I foolishly thought that this is something that me and my 4-year-old son could do together. Of course, he promptly declared that tying a knot was hard, Mom. And that was the end of Mommy and Me Craft Hour. But I kept on with it. And initially I was buying the fabrics from places like Joann Fabrics, the mega chain fabric stores. But the prices were always high and the fabrics always seemed so interesting. So once the COVID restrictions lifted and some of the stores started opening back up, I started hitting the thrift stores, and I realized that the thrift store really was the biggest and best fabric store, because you had so much selection, so much variety, and there was so much good fabric in all of the shirts that would otherwise go to waste. Yes, the wreath forms, we'll use those in a minute. I'm glad that everybody came prepared with their supplies in Texas. And so I switched from Joann and I moved to buying the fabrics at the thrift stores because it was the environmentally conscious thing to do. Because in case you don't know, many of the clothes that go to the thrift store, if they don't sell or if they're not deemed worthy enough, they go straight into the landfill. So if I could give them a second chance at life, I certainly wanted to do that. So that's me. And then let's get started. So I see the Texas contingent has their wreath form. I want to make sure everybody's got their supplies, their mini wreath forms, scissors. I think Linda asked everyone to bring 2 men's shirts. So if you don't have men's shirts and you just have fabric rags, like a rag pile, maybe you quilt or do other crafts, that's just fine. We'll make it work. And then of course you might have your hot glue gun, your, decoration items and your bric-a-brac, things like that. So.
Your family's very enthusiastic.
They are very enthusiastic, it's, so, yep. Okay. So, Texas family, you can put the wreath forms down and maybe grab your shirts, your men's shirts that you got from the thrift store. I like men's shirts because they tend to come in really bright colors. They also tend to be 100% cotton, which works better. A lot of the shirts in the women's section tend to have a lot of polyester, rayon, other synthetic fabrics that just don't work as well. So I always look for bright, colorful shirts from the men's section. And then I always check that fabric tag to see if they're 100% cotton. 100% linen also works well. And so there's really 2 ways to do these wreaths. So there's the lazy crafter's way, which is to use this big swath in the back of the shirt. And then there's the way that I like to do it, which is to use every single piece of fabric in the shirt. So the front, the sleeves, the yoke, depending on what the interfacing scenario is like, the collar, the buttonholes, things like that. But for the sake of time, we're going to do it the quick and easy lazy crafter's way. You can, as you move on, you can certainly, explore and look at getting every piece of value out of that shirt or whatever item you bought. Because as you know, the less waste, the better for the environment. So start with your back side of your shirt. And this is the hem side. The bottom is the hem side. go ahead and start cutting along the seams here. So cut from the hem up to the underarm. And basically you're trying to get a big square fabric out of that back, and then cut along the armhole across the yoke, and then do the same on the other side. So take a minute to do that, and I'll do it with you. I should say that the sharper the scissors, the easier life is going to be, not just in crafting, but in anything you do, really. So this is where I do spend my money at Joann. I get my coupon and I go get the sharp pair of scissors. You can also rip, makes it go a little bit faster.
Hey, Julie, should we cut at the top too, so we just get one big square of fabric?
So it looks like, Linda, you have the yoke there.
Right.
So cut up into the yoke and then just cut across. And usually there's interfacing in the yoke, and it can take you off course. Sometimes you can, depending on what sort of interfacing is used, you can, if you're really desperate and you need another strip of fabric, sometimes you can peel off the interfacing, but sometimes it's double bonded and it just won't budge. And in some shirts, especially higher quality shirts, they may forego interfacing altogether and just insert another strip of fabric, in which case, you know, you've lucked out because you can get more fabric to use for your wreath. Okay, so this is mine. And you can see, like, there's the armholes. They don't completely line up.
Yeah, and I would just encourage, if people can take themselves off mute. If you have any questions for Jules, please take yourself off mute and ask away. It's a small group, so.
Yeah, that looks good, Michelle. Remember, I do want to remind everyone that this is being recorded and it will be posted publicly on social media, both on Linda's Instagram for the Dress Best for Less thrift store, as well as my Instagram. So if you're wanted by the FBI, this might not be the Zoom hour you want to spend. Pretty, yours looks great. Megan, how you doing?
Megan's my baby sister.
I wanted to point out that I got the entire bolt of fabric from Goodwill for
Nice.
like $2, an entire bolt of all of the blue. So we're all doing matching blue because it was like 40 yards instead of shirts, but it is upcycled. And we thought we looked really good in blue.
So I should say that, so this is my family in Texas and I'm in Los Angeles. And so the prices at thrift stores are insanely cheap in Texas. Sometimes I think, oh, you know, it's half off day, or it's, you know, the $2 day at the Salvation Army. And my sister will tell me that, you know, once a week at her thrift shop, everything is a quarter. So they're in a whole different league. So, and, you know, if you can get a bolt of fabric, you know, definitely grab it. I always grab, you know, we don't have so much fabric in Los Angeles where I go, but if I ever see ribbons, like after Christmas time, I feel like there's just companies who have bought ribbon for gift wrapping and they just need to get rid of it. So it ends up at the thrift. So I buy all those ribbons and just hoard them and use them for, you know, their wreaths throughout the year. Okay. And I did ask everyone to bring 2 shirts. There's a good chance we can do a wreath with just 1 square of the fabric, but you know, it really depends on the sizing of the shirt. So if you brought 2 shirts, go ahead and cut both. And you might want to keep your piles separate, and we'll talk about why in a minute. I'm just going to do my second one here. Okay, everybody good, ready to go on? So starting with the hem side, what we're gonna do is place little guide marks about every 1.5 to 2 inches. Just like this. So just go along. And basically what you're doing is you're breaking up that hem stitch so that way we can tear it. And so do that on both of your pieces of fabric. If you start at the top where the yoke was, you'll find that you just have to come along and redo some scissor cuts at the bottom. So it's better just to start with the hem stitch.
But- Oh, let me raise my hand. Jules,
Yes.
we have pieces that look like this. Are we supposed to cut them every 1.5 to 2 inches?
So I think that's going to be a little wide for your wreath form. And it's going to be difficult to tie a double knot in that because it's going to be so clunky.
So
I
should
would-
we cut them skinnier?
Cut them in half.
I would cut them down the middle and get half.
Thank you. Thank you.
And again, so they didn't use shirts, they used their super cheap Volta fabric, which it looks like a Tiffany blue color on the screen, which looks great.
We wanted to tell you that we all love Tiffany blue here. This was one of our favorite colors.
I'm making mine for a Mother's Day gift.
Yes.
My mother's favorite color.
And we like that when we craft, we always craft with intention. We have somebody in mind when we're making these. So thank you.
And so once you've got your guidelines, go ahead and do what they were doing and you can just rip it. Now, sometimes you'll find that the fabric tries to veer off course and sometimes it goes on a 90-degree angle. That's fine, just course correct. This
is very satisfying.
And if you do have a lot of crafting tools, you can certainly use your rotary blade and your rotary mat if you want straight lines. If you have pinking shears, you can cut it. I just find pinking shears can be very tiring and difficult to use. And Linda and I were talking, and we like the shredded edges, the raw edges, but it's just personal opinion. Sometimes I'll come back and trim with pinking shears to give a different look. Is that little Avery or Layla there at the table? Hi.
Both.
Those are my nieces.
Aren't they cute?
Do you know, I'm actually part of the Sierra Student Coalition's Climate Justice Academy.
Is that to save the environment, just like the Sierra Club?
Yeah, but climate justice is especially how environmental protections generally aren't found in Black and brown communities. So, for example, when a sanitation, a dump needs to be built, it's typically found in a Black and brown community. So learning about the social implications of climate change.
Yeah, do you guys look at the impact of the fashion industry on the global climate?
Yes.
You know how devastating it is.
Devastating.
Fast fashion has pushed us over the edge. And the World Economic Forum site, if anybody's interested, has got shocking stats on just how bad the fashion industry is. And I was telling this to Linda the other day that, all fabric pollutes the environment just to make, but, the synthetic fabrics are even worse. And polyester, even washing polyester puts pollutants into our environment, which is something I had no idea about. I thought, well, if the fabric's already made, fine, I'll just, wash it and turn it into something. But then I learned that even washing the fabric is bad. So that's when I started to veer towards cottons and linens and other natural fabrics.
Yeah, I didn't know that until we talked the other day, Jules.
It's amazing.
This is Nagisa from Desk Best for Less, Linda's friend, and there's several TED Talks related to that. Very interesting if you're interested in that subject.
I'm gonna have to.
There's a very interesting TED Talk on the life of a T-shirt from seed into selling, and it's shocking. And I encourage everybody to watch it. It's very good.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out. Thanks, Nagisa.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Jules, did you know that your very own niece did a TED Talk on that very subject? You can find her on YouTube.
It's not on TED.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was it?
Well, you guys can send me the link.
We'll send you the link for anyone who's interested.
They never did nothing with that.
So let me. It looks like most of you guys are making good headway. And it looks like everybody brought like a good sized men's shirt. So ultimately we want strips that are about 10 to 12 inches long. So just for the sake of quickness, just take your strips on the men's shirts, fold them in half, cut down the middle to basically double your quantity. And they'll be haphazard, but it's all fine because we come back and we give these Wreath haircuts as part of the finishing process.
How many strips total should we have?
It will vary on how wide your strips are. We just want to have enough to get around the wreath, and because we're using 2 pieces of shirt, we're going to have more than we need. It also, depending on your fabric and the size of your wreath, you can make your strips wider or thinner. But of course, the wider you get something, the harder it is to tie a knot. Like when when the Texas contingent showed me how wide their bands were, it looked like it would just be hard to tie a double knot. Those look good now. And so here's my stack. Linda, I see you're organizing.
My sister Megan, who's here, she's in Rochester, New York, and she was an art major, so she's gonna take this craft idea and blow it out of the water. I know she's gonna figure out how to make it extra.
We're making the wreath, but she's over there like making the door in the house that it's gonna go on.
No. No. Okay, I'm going on. I'm unmuting for this one.
We have a question in Texas, please.
You said to cut your pieces in half, but how long should they be? Because we didn't start with the same length. We're thinking we need to go shorter. Approximately how long?
So about 10 inches.
Okay.
So we need to do thirds.
Yeah. Just make sure. And of course, the wider your strip is, the longer it needs to be, because it's just harder to tie a knot with bulky fabric. What's your robin's egg blue fabric made out of? Do you know? Jen, is it cotton or?
They're
Well,
very focused.
very
They're very focused.
And sorry for the cough. It's been allergy season here. There's just pollen covering all of the cars here. It's been between the pollen and the winds distributing it all. It's just got my allergies in a tizzy. Welcome, Annie.
And Annie, we're recording this too, so we'll send the recording out to everyone. So if you missed anything,
Thank you.
have any questions, just let us know.
So I know some of you are still finishing up, but we'll move on because I'm just going to show you a few options on how to design your wreath. So there's two decisions that we need to make at this point. The first really is how you want the knots to look on your wreath. So this is knots facing front, okay? And then this is the knots on the outside of the wreath. This is probably a better example. So see the difference? Knots front, knots on the side.
They're so cute. It's hard to decide.
So it's just preference. Again, it just, when we start to place things on the wreath, you're just going to tie them in a different place. But you want to think about it now because after you get everything placed on it, it's a little hard to rotate them. So you do have to decide knots on the front, knots on the side. The second thing that you need to think about is your quantity of fabric and what you want the wreath to look like in the end. So most of you have two shirts. So here is a stripe fabric, lavender stripe. So I basically alternated the two fabrics. This one, I was lucky enough that the whole fabric covered and I didn't need to go to my second fabric. This one, I was hoping that this pink fabric would cover the whole wreath, but I ran out. So then I had to go to my second fabric. So it's totally up to you. And then you can also do somewhere it's like a big chunk of one color, chunk of the next color, chunk of the other one. So it's all up to you. So those are the two important decisions to be made at this point. So I think I'm going to do, I got mine to be complimentary. So I'm just going to, alternate or just do a grab bag. And then you get your wreath form. If you're still cutting, let me know. I can slow down a bit. But this is the super easy part. Where we basically just, you take your fabric and you double knot it. I'm going to do knots on the outside. Double knot it. Go on to the next one and just do that all the way around. And get a nice snug fit between the strips because you don't want the white styrofoam to show at the end. If you miss a spot, we can come in at the end and try to squish them over and put in strips. But if you're trying to be very diligent about one color, the next color, the next, then it becomes a little bit more challenging, but not impossible. And this is where it's going to get a little bit quiet on the call. So if anybody wants to share any stories, ask any questions, let's do that, because otherwise we're just going to be here all double knotting for, 8 to 10 minutes.
What was a single knot?
We like to wear our
And Julie,
fabric
that's your twin, right? That's your twin sister?
I should say that one is my twin. Yes, those are her daughters. Yes. And then my mom's off to the left.
Are you going to make an appearance?
And my older sister looks like she might be operating the camera.
I'm the camera operator. But we're thrilled to be a part of this.
I
so
forgot the
thank you.
technical part and I was gonna have to bring in some extra folks to help. So I just 1 second.
Bringing in the puppies? What do you?
We also have an engineer in the background.
I think mine are too long.
Ask-
So Jules, it just,
Same double
Jo-
knot.
you just slide the pieces next to each other to
Just slide the pieces next to each other. You might have to do a little bit of an overlap.
okay.
And Linda, it looks like you're doing knots up front.
Yeah.
So
Jules,
if we
can you
do-
do the knot tutorial again real quick? Because we need to do it with you. We missed it.
I know it's difficult. You take your fabric, and you tie it in a double knot.
But what's a double knot?
We don't know.
Is it a square knot?
We were still,
You tie it once, like if you were gonna double knot your shoelaces. You tie it so it's a knot
I
versus
didn't know. I didn't ask.
one.
okay.
I think any kind of knot will do, right? It
Okay.
doesn't have to be a square knot.
So, Linda knows that I do a lot of the work on wire frames, and there, because it is so small, you can sometimes get away with a single knot. Because these are bulky, these styrofoam ones are bulky, you really want to do a double knot, otherwise it might come loose. So just make sure it's on there sturdy, nice and tight. You might have to stagnate your knots, one a little bit front, one a little bit back, just to sort of cover up the,
Are there better fabrics for these and like worse, like things that you shouldn't use?
yeah, again, aside from environmental reasons, the rayons, the polyesters, I just found that they aren't sturdy. They tend to do a lot of fraying and be very weak. I've not used t-shirt fabric yet. My boyfriend gave me a bunch of old concert t-shirts, told me to turn it into a wreath, but I just don't think that's going to look very good. So I haven't done that yet. And I've not used things like silk in this form. I've used silk in the gold hoop frames. A dear friend's aunt passed away, and she asked me to make some memoriam wreaths out of the clothes that her aunt enjoyed. And one of the items she gave me was this gorgeous, very bright, beautiful silk dress. And so I did use silk for that, but it was a entirely different vibe, and it was those very thin gold hoops. It's on my Instagram if you guys want to check it out.
Julie,
Does
have you,
anyone have any questions?
Julie, have you ever used ties, like men's ties?
I have bought men's ties with the idea of doing something with them, but no, I bought some that were sort of cool, groovy, like an 80s look, Don Johnson, Miami Vice sort of vibe, but I couldn't figure out how to quite work it in. And the other thing is that there's not a ton of fabric available in the ties, so you'd have to buy a lot of them. And you know me, I'm always looking for a bargain.
Well, because I'm just thinking like, Lenny, the like all of Dad's ties. I've always wanted to do something with them, but
Oh, yeah.
my friend made a quilt from them, but I'm not a quilter. I can't do that. So
I saw there's an incredible woman that I follow on Instagram, and she does a lot of cross stitch pieces, but she'll do she'll maybe take like an old vintage cocktail napkin with the crocheted doily outside, and then she'll cross stitch modern day sayings on them, like maybe Beyonce lyrics and stuff like that. So total contradiction, or Black Lives Matter. And she had done a piece with men's ties where they sort of made a flower out. So the ties were the petals, and then she had cross stitched something in the middle, and it was framed. It looked great. I'll have to dig it up and send it to Linda.
We have a lot of
you will have to do the cross stitching.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I fell down too. They lost me at sewing. cross stitching, and it was needlework.
Well, if you figure out what to do with neckties, let us know, because we've got a lot of neckties, especially as, you know, fewer men wear neckties to work, right?
Right. Well, that's a good challenge. We'll have to think about that.
I know I've also seen some cool, like, people make skirts out of neckties. I've seen that, but once again, sewing and a lot of ties.
Yeah.
And I don't wear a lot of skirts. So.
And then, yeah, and I don't know where people, you know.
Jules, is this looking right? It seems really tight.
It looks largely right. It's a little hard to see because you're, there's a lot of, yeah, that looks right. Yeah, they look like a hot mess, and they will look like a hot mess until we go to give them haircuts.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty hard to mess these up. Although I do have to say that I created a little kit for one of the preschool moms' 8-year-old daughter, because she is really crafty, and she got really good. She got really close, and I think she just forgot to give it the haircut. But otherwise, it's really hard to get these wrong.
I do want to let everyone know that Jules donated 2 of her gorgeous little mini wreaths. And so we will raffle those off to everyone we have 2 of them. So we'll raffle them off to people who attended today. So you'll get your very own Jules original. They're super cute.
Thanks, Linda. Texas family, you do not qualify.
Okay, we're good. We're good. We just are here for the knowledge throwdown, so we're good.
My mom will try to buy every wreath that I make. I had to tell her no. I give her the wreaths because you can't sell to your mom, right? So she'll be like, "How much is that one?" And then inevitably I'll be like, "It's yours." But after she has like 10 wreaths, I'm like, "You don't even have but one door."
Hey, Jules, can you talk a little bit about the decorations that you put on your wreaths and how you find them? And
yeah, so I love to get my decorations from the bric-a-brac section. And initially, I was looking for stuff that made direct sense, meaning maybe there was a flower or a ribbon, something like that. But over time, I retrained my eye. So when I go through the bric-a-brac section, everything is a potential wreath decoration for me. And because with, craft wire or a hot glue gun, you can pretty much get anything onto a wreath. So this, for example, the colors might not match, but you can, this little flower can go on. And this was a coaster for chopsticks. So you just have to sort of retrain your eye and go, oh, I like it. I can make it work. This is a little bumblebee. And these were on napkin ring holders. So it was a metal napkin ring holder and the bee was on the outside. So I grabbed those for dirt cheap and just popped the bees off. And then this morning, this is kind of hard to see, but so I put them on. This particular fabric's got a lot of flowers on it. And I was like, bees like flowers. So there's the bee. And then the other one is right in here. And then these are paper. I think they're paper anyway. These flowers I actually also found in the bric-a-brac section. So
your wreath is so pretty, Jules. We love that.
Are your,
Yes, that's so good.
it's shorter, ours are longer.
Why
we
are
haven't
ours
done the
different?
haircut. There's
Oh, keep going. Okay.
I love old jewelry. So this is a brooch. So I haven't, I was thinking this one might go on here, but it's getting to have a lot of stuff. But I love old jewelry, and especially on some of the fabric, you can just pop it right on, and you can also change it out. So you know, if you have a Christmas brooch, you can pop that on for Christmas time and then change it. I got this, you know, I'm always looking for the Christmas ornaments. So in January, when nobody wants to store their Christmas ornaments, they all end up at the thrift store, which is great for me because I go and buy them. So I think this was a Christmas ornament, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this guy yet, but you know, I thought maybe I'd use them for Easter, but I'm quickly losing time. So I don't know where he's going to find his home. So go through the bric-a-brac section and look for, you know, just whatever catches your eye, really. As long as it can get on there. I even bought, and I haven't used this yet, but I even bought a mini teacup. It's almost like a doll's teacup, but it's porcelain. So it clearly was a novelty piece. So I thought one day I'm going to run into somebody who really is a tea drinker, and I'm going to make them a wreath with that on it.
Jules, have you ever used frames, like picture frames from the thrift store?
Yeah. Yeah, it's did Linda plant that question?
No.
I
No,
didn't.
I swear.
It's funny. I do, but and I didn't bring my little picture frame over here. But when Linda and I were practicing, I was showing her exactly that. And so the picture frames, they have, you know, tons of little mini picture frames tend to end up at the thrift stores. And those are really great for a number of different reasons. So I made my best friend's daughter a high school graduation spirit wreath.
Oh.
And it was in the school colors. And then I put a picture of her and her boyfriend in the frame and put the frame on the wreath. So that was super cute. I also do wreaths for weddings or engagement parties where, you know, the happy couple is in the wreath. Baby showers, same thing. If you're having birthday parties and want to make a wreath for the front door, you can put the birthday girl or boy's photo in there. Or, you know, quotes in the picture frames, things like that. So I love those. I do have to say, the one thing I learned is the picture frames can get heavy. And so if you put them on the side of the wreath, it'll throw off the balance when you hang it. But there's this Facebook group for DIY crafters, and I threw it out to them on how do you balance out the weight. And they said fishing weights. So we don't fish. We're not a fishing family. I said, I misunderstood. I said, I didn't know finishing weights were a thing. And these women were like, no, fishing weights. And I guess you can get them on Amazon, but I actually don't know what purpose they serve in fishing, but they're just tiny little weights that you would just put on the back of the wreath to balance out their weight. So it hangs how you want it to hang.
Yeah, they weigh the line down so that it sinks, so it goes further down. So like when you're in deeper water.
There you go.
But I bet you could find those. I mean, I bet if you went to like an old hardware store, like a hardware reuse store, they might have them.
Yeah, if you wanted to really be eco-conscious, yes, absolutely. Otherwise, you know, sometimes.
Or if you looked in our shed at our camp.
When you were talking about frames, have you ever just done the scraps of fabric around the frame edge? Is that what you're talking about, or were you putting the frame in the center of the wreath?
Let me go grab a frame and I'll show you exactly. That one right over here. Hang on. Okay. So picture me and my boyfriend. So you could put it depends how you want it to play, but you could put it on the side. You can put it on the top and you can put it anywhere you want. So it's just like the key really is just finding the little mini frames. And then you can either use your craft wire through here or hot glue gun it. Just depends on sort of what you like and how heavy the frame is. The one that I was doing for the spirit wreath was a really heavy frame. So I used craft wire because I didn't want it to fall off. You could, I guess, also drop them down from the middle. Like if you found something that was miraculously the right size, you could sort of put it around there. Which again, you know, if you're having an engagement party or something like that, or a birthday party, maybe it's a little girl's birthday or a baby shower, you could put the, you know, the ultrasound picture in there.
Jules,
Yep.
what happens if you tie your knots too tight on the styrofoam wreath?
You just won't have the ability to sort of move them around. But yeah, it's a really hard to find.
Is it possible that you might tie them too tight?
No.
Like, will you break the
If you have
styrofoam?
an engineer that wants to make the knots really precise and he ties it so tight that the wreath form breaks, how do you fix it?
I guess you're gonna have to together or use the fabric strips as a bit of an adhesive Band-Aid to, you know, to sort of.
Jules,
I'm gonna use your grandmother's 1940 typewriter, and I'm gonna write some of my poetry.
You put poetry in
I'm
the
gonna
frame on
type
yours.
poetry and the top.
Great ideas. What this is not a styrofoam wreath form I see here. What's going? Oh, you're going to use an embroidery hoop?
So at the thrift store, I got all these really thick, nice wooden embroidery hoops. And I thought since I started with the styrofoam wreath form that I needed some assistance. And somebody was tying some that we didn't have time. And I was going to do an off center, maybe, and display the wooden one. Do you have any ideas on a partial display as opposed to all the way around, just for the interest of
So
time?
I do. And so on the partial display, so you're basically using your embroidery hoop almost like a gold wire hoop. And so the challenge with that is going to be the weight. So if you want it to hang off to the side, you're going to have the balance problem. So my recommendation is, first of all, focus all of your decoration so that it's hanging off the top or the bottom so that it balances. And then you're going to have to just put a lot of decoration. So I don't know what you have for decorations on it, because if you don't want to go all the way around, you got to have a lot of flair. So it looks like there's some good stuff in there. How's everybody doing on getting around the circle? I still have a couple more inches. Good.
Yeah, I think you're faster than I am.
Yeah, I couldn't find an 8-inch one, so I had to get a bigger one. So it might take me
So you're
longer.
going to be here for 2 days. Yeah.
It's not that bad. I mean, I'm making progress.
And I do have to say, you know, my kiddo broke his fair share of wreath forms this morning. She's just being a 4-year-old boy. So we lost a couple in our house this morning too, Jen. I mean, there's no excuse for a 76-year-old engineer to do it, but that's why we've got the class. And if anybody finds that they happen to be running out of fabric, go to the front of your shirt and start to just grab those strips.
That's what I had to do.
I feel like I might just barely make it. Sometimes when I'm doing really precise colors and I'm running out, I'll start cutting into, like, you know, the button flaps and trying to like pry off all the interfacing and get every last scrap because I need that particular color. So I sympathize with you, Linda. Okay, I think I'm almost done. And I should say, if you haven't sort of organically figured this out, I've just got my wreath form between my knees because it's the easiest way to hold it. But I will say, I have discovered that there's a lot of napkin holders that are fun and funky, kitschy at the vintage stores or the thrift stores. And if you get one that's nice and heavy, you can use it to display the wreath. So if you don't want to hang it and you just want to put it on your counter someplace, take a look at that. They do have to be, you have to really balance out the weight of the wreath against the, the heft of the napkin holder, otherwise it'll just fall down on you.
I love that idea, Julie, because I just went into my hutch and got my thrift store set of 12 sterling silver napkin rings. It was $2.50 at the thrift store for a box of 4, but then it was 40% off. So that's what I'm going to use to offset my beautiful wooden frame in the Tiffany's blue. So
Yes.
Thank you for the idea, because we couldn't find anything in our jewelry pile.
I was actually talking about, I'm sorry, I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to go grab what I was talking about. Okay, I was talking about these sorts of like the ones that hold the napkins. And so this is a different rag wreath, so it's a little bit thinner, and you could just do that. And then it can sit up on.
I didn't understand that. I thought you were talking about using napkin ring holders for decorations.
I do that. Yes, that's where my little.
We're gonna rock that. Michelle found a beautiful greenish. Look
Yes.
what she found to match her blue. Look how pretty that is.
Oh, yep. Looks like an old hair tie.
I don't know where this came from,
Julie.
but
Nice.
maybe it might be vintage.
Anyway, this actually, I got super excited when I found it. And then I peeled off, I think, the Goodwill price tag and realized it was just an IKEA piece. And I think Goodwill charged me more than the IKEA price. It's like, how dare they? Well, everybody's finishing up. I'm going to just move on to packaging. So when I give the Reese's gifts, I like to put them in something cute and fun and unexpected. So my boyfriend is in the music touring business, and he tends to come home with the laundry bags, the fabric laundry bags from the high-end hotels, and they would just stack up. So at first I went through that stash and sort of sewed on some fabric pieces on the outside to cover up the hotel markings. But then more recently at my thrift store, I ran into these quilt squares. So anything that's handmade, I always, look at really closely at the thrift stores. So somebody had sewn all of these quilt squares into these 10 by 10 squares. And there must have been 2 or 3 dozen of them in a Ziploc bag for sale. So I grabbed those right away and didn't know what I'd do with them. And again, not being the sewer, I was a little hesitant. I knew I would not make them into a quilt. But I did get these bags from Amazon. You just buy them in bulk, so they're really cheap. And you can get a heat bond adhesive, so it's no sew. You just use your iron and you iron, whatever you want to the outside. So if you have really cool pockets on your men's shirts, or you just want to put a swath of fabric, you can save a little bit of fabric and make a matching wreath dust cover.
You want to tell us about the haircut stage? Is that what's next?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've got this sort of Muppety looking wreath. And then this is where the sharp scissors really pay off. You just go through and literally just give it a haircut. There's no right or wrong length. I personally like roughly about 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches. And sometimes I'll come through and do the pinking shears. So these are just the zigzag scissors, and it just gives it a different look. So after you get all of your knots tied, just give it a fringe trim. And you can also get rid of all of your, the threads that came out from your fabric. Clean it up.
And you've got to get all your knots aligned, is that right?
They tend to be they could be a little jagged, right? Because you have to cover up that wreath. And of course, the circumference is different on each side. So you might have to go one's a little bit front. It really also depends on how you did with your knotting. So if you have to adjust your knots and their placement, definitely do that before you give it the haircut.
Is the haircut the same if we put the knots in the front versus the side?
Trim it how you want it to look. So it's probably got, it's like when you try to cut your own bangs, they're all over the place. So just sort of get it, even if you're cutting your bangs, and even on the inside. And you can make it as long as you want or as short as you want. This one, I'll show you the back side. So this one, it's overlapping by about 2 inches still. But and also, by the way, this side, I don't hate this side. It just depends on what you really like. So
Do your knots show on the front there at all?
they do. They're just, it's hard to really tell, I think, because of this particular fabric, but
Okay.
that's all the knots right in there.
Yeah.
Okay, Jules, do you want to talk about the decorations and the hangers and stuff? I think some of us might be a little bit slower than you are.
Okay, yeah. So this particular wreath form is obviously, it's a mini. And so you have to think about where you want it to hang in your world. So if it's going to be on the front door and you're using a traditional wreath hanger, it's probably going to be sitting way up high on the door, which doesn't work, right? You really want it, you want all art pieces really to be at eye level. And so if that's where this one is going to live, you'll want to put a drop on it. And so you can really use anything for the drop. If you have ribbon, great. If you want to tear off a piece of fabric, that works too. So like this one is got just this little tiny piece of, ribbon that you would get at the craft store. And then I use that to put it onto the hook. This one is just got a piece of the fabric. So I basically just looped that in there into one of the knotted areas and made that act like the thread and hooked it on there. And it could very well be that, where you're going to hang it, it doesn't even need a hook. So it really depends on how you want it to hang. But if you're going to, hang it, if you're going to put it on a doorknob, for example, or maybe a dresser hook, then you don't have to worry so much about how long it is. But think about that. And then you can just loop it through one of the loops. And of course, worst case scenario, you always have hot glue, although, hot glue tends to fail over time. So, and it fails with weight.
Do y'all have like a bunch of threads that are getting in the way of things too? Like the threads coming out of the shirt?
Yeah, so you can also clean that up at the haircut stage, or just pull it off. Sometimes when I go to put my fabrics on, I sort of do a like whoosh to clean it. Like, so I have a whole pile right here of this stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you can either come back and cut it off, which, you know, I know is annoying. This particular fabric did that as well as I was doing, and I sort of had to come back and give it a very precise haircut. And then, you know, once you get your haircut done, once you, you know, think about your length of the hanger and the drop, then you just go to town with your decorations. Hot glue gun it, add a ribbon tail if you want. You know, and again, you either use hot glue or your craft wire. The styrofoam stuff is kind of fun because if you do jewelry, sometimes you can just pop it right into the styrofoam and, you know, pray that it stays there. I know we're coming up at time. So are there any questions I can answer? How's everybody coming along? Does anybody want to show us their creation?
Here's mine. I just finished.
Yeah, look at those colors.
Oh, I love that.
I love
But
that.
I haven't given it a haircut.
That looks really good.
I don't know. And my mom will show you hers. Go ahead. She did a red one.
Oh, that's so springy. I love it.
Now, if you had a double door entry, how cute would that be? One on each side.
Yeah.
Really,
I even like the back of it.
I know, yeah.
This is mine. It's still messy.
Yeah, yours will look great after a haircut. Megan,
Can you remind us about the haircut? Like, how much should we cut?
So I like to get it about, you know, 1.5 to 2 inches. So, but it's all preference. So, and it also sort of, you have to think about how the fabric acts. So this one, for example, some of it's even shorter than, it's like 1 inch, because sometimes you'll find that fabric will curl or do, you know, fun or interesting things. This one, I'm not sure this mermaid matches. So, but this one in real life has got a little bit of curl. So I kept it a little bit longer. This one is just, you know, about 1 to 2 inches.
Okay.
So I think it's really preference. How's it going in Texas?
Hi, Jules. We are making the hanger part. We're gonna
I
braid
don't
our.
think I have enough on mine. It's too skimpy.
Yeah.
I have another rabbit. How about this side? We can make it
But
set.
I'm putting accents on mine.
If we put them on here, we can have a set or.
I'm gonna go down to your house.
I think my dad was trying to say peace out before somebody muted him.
That Julie?
It's Jules.
Jules, J. Marie, what was it?
What was what?
What did you say about me?
Oh, I heard you say that it sounded like you're heading down to Michelle's house.
Oh, yeah, I want to pick up some stuff, but I'm coming back.
He'll be back for the
Look what he helped
Thanks
us.
for coming.
Guess who tied these?
dad tied.
Dad did that.
That's
Nice
super
job.
cute with a bunny.
It's an Easter wreath.
I love that.
Jennifer's gonna
fixing the
decorate
top.
the top now
Yep, we had a team up here because we got overwhelmed.
because
with
we
weight.
did this.
We're gonna team up with Michelle to make a top something.
Well, when you post everything on Instagram and tag me.
Yeah, I'll send a follow-up email. We'd love to see all the finished products. And I'll include Jules' Instagram and ours as well. Oh my gosh. I love the hoop.
Yeah, the embroidery hoops are so cute. And I remember when she told me she found those, you know, they were just such a great deal. But, you know, again, if you don't cross stitch, what do you do with them? But it looks like a wreath is a great alternative.
Linny, can you put Jules's Instagram up on the chat?
And
Got it, Meg. I'll do it.
I might be able to do it so that
Okay.
tying. Let me see if everybody's familiar with the chat function. It's The Girl is Crafty with 3 Ys, because clearly there's a lot of people who like that username. I think I'm going to decorate mine with this little gold brooch. So I'm just going to try to pop it on there with using the pin.
I love the pin idea. I didn't even think about being able to stick things into the styrofoam.
Yeah, of course, this one's giving me just a little bit of problem. Mostly the fear that it's going to come out and poke me in the finger. But
Megan, does Kevin know that you took some of his shirts to make a wreath out of it?
Well, ironically, I had this bag of stuff to donate. And so there was one of Cooper's shirts and one of Kevin's shirts in there, which is why my colors are so boring. But because I was too lazy to go to the thrift store today. But I actually am okay with it, because I realize I'm going to go down and I'm going to get some shells to hot glue on here. So it'll be neutral, but it'll be, you can't really see it with a light. It's like a tan and a white.
I like it.
It'll be super beachy. I love it. Nice and summery.
But now I'm going to go and look for like fun costume jewelry to put on it too.
Yeah, and there's also, of course, people that do entire works of art with just costume jewelry. So
I know.
if you did like an I don't know, maybe all black background and then popped a bunch of jewelry on it.
That'd be cool.
Collect for a while to get that much. There's my little piece of gold vintage jewelry on the bottom.
Oh, that's really cute.
That's really cute.
I might come back later and put, some ribbon on it, but we'll see. And then again, if I was giving it as a gift, or if somebody was buying it, I'd just put it in a little bag. So I have the upcycled, reusable bag, and there you go.
And I bought a wreath, not one of these mini ones, but a different wreath from Jules, and she sent it to me in this beautiful vintage pillowcase, which is also another idea. I know at DBFL we've got a ton of bedding, and so those random pillowcases make great wreath packaging too.
And sometimes you get really lucky and you find the ones that are hand embroidered.
Mm-hmm.
Those, don't pass up those. I'd say a few closing thoughts to keep in mind is you can hopefully continue to do wreath making. As you're looking through the stores, again, if you're like me, you're looking for the most bang for your buck. So men's shirts in large, extra large, double X, triple X, those give you a lot of fabric. So I get really excited when I see those. Not only do you get a great return on your purchase, but if you're looking to do a wreath in a single color, then you're going to have enough fabric for it. So that works really well. Where I live down in Southern California, we tend to get a lot of Gap brand chinos and khakis in bright colors. So blues, greens, yellows, pinks, reds, orange, every color under the sun. Those are typically 100% cotton, and they are a nice, thick, durable fabric. So those make good fabric scraps for the wreaths as well. And then I've also bought tablecloths and turned those into wreaths. And those are really cool because if you needed to make, I don't know, maybe 6 identical mini wreaths, you'll have enough fabric to do it, depending on how big that tablecloth is. Or if you're doing a really big 18-inch round wireframe wreath, which is takes up a lot more fabric, you know, you can get that done in a single color of fabric. And then of course, as you change your seasons, you can change your fabric. So as we get into the winter months, making the wreaths out of flannel fabrics and the checks and the buffalo plaids, those become really popular and really fun at Christmas time. Actually, even starting into Thanksgiving. So you get the harvest golds, browns, oranges, and then you know, switch to the reds and greens and the buffalo checks and stuff like that at Christmas time.
The
And then-
best way to get your flannel for those flannel wreaths are sheets, the flat sheet section. Don't,
Yes,
that's,
I
you can get significant amounts.
Yeah,
at
or
the thrift store.
jammies.
Yep, the cool Christmas jammies.
Yeah, you can get a matching top and bottom. So again, you can get all one type of fabric if that's what you're going for. So
Well, Jules, thank you so much for spending your Sunday with us and teaching us how to upcycle. This has been really fun. I
Yeah.
see myself being able to justify binging some TV series and crafting at the same time.
Yes,
Thank
Jules,
you,
thank you. We had fun
Thank you,
here.
Jerry.
Thank you.
have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye guys. Thanks,
Great.
Linda. I'll see you guys all online. Send us
Thank
the
you.
Bye.
Thanks, Jules.
Bye.